Clare Public Schools, a financial trend analysis. General disclaimer, all information contained in this analysis comes from the audited figures provided by Clare Public Schools to the state of Michigan, as contained in the MDE's Financial Information Database and Audit Records. As shown in the graph, the operating revenue, which contains all the revenue except for the required MIPS funding of Clare Public, has consistently increased in the last 5 years. While there was a jump for 2020 that might make the operating revenue for 2021 seem like a decrease, if you look at the trend line, you notice that it's going upward. As we all know, funding is dependent upon enrollment. And if you look upon our enrollment graph here, you can see that there was a spike in 2020, and then it seems like it has slowly declined. However, if you look at the graph on the right, the general fund surplus, the unused money that goes into the district's piggy bank, has consistently increased, even though enrollment might have decreased. Enrollment has decreased about 3%, but the general fund surplus has increased about 1.6% each year. So even though there's been a slight decrease in enrollment, there has been an increase in the amount of per pupil funding, which means that the district has been putting more and more money away in their general fund. If we took the amount that the district has put away each year in their general fund and divided it by the number of teachers, or FTEs, this is the amount each classroom could have received. Each classroom for 2021 could have received about $61,891. Now, this is not to say that spending the entire general fund is a good idea. Instead, what this graph shows is there's a lot of unused cash, and this is money that should be going to support our students. And unfortunately, it is being tucked underneath the district's mattress. Next, we look at total teacher compensation, which includes salary, insurance, retirement, and cash in lieu. And looking at just this graph, it might seem that there was a huge, spike in 2019 that has consistently trended upward. However, when compared to the percent that the district spends on teacher compensation in comparison to their revenue, well, the graph looks a little different, as the amount the district has spent has not exceeded 5% in the last 5 years. Spending on teachers has remained pretty much the same, even though the cost of living and inflation has continued to rise, which you can see in this graph. So the blue is the percent of increase that the district has spent on total teacher compensation of their total revenue, as opposed to the inflation of each year. Now, if you look in 2020, again, it looks like it was double the inflation increase. But if you look in 2019, you'll notice that the inflation increase, the salary increase was actually negative. It went down 0.2%. So really, 2020 is making up for the inflation of 2019 and 2020. Next, we have the insurance costs. This graph will show you the total medical insurance costs of the bargaining unit as a percent of the overall budget has not really increased. Then if you compare that with the non-medical costs, it has pretty much remained stagnant. The total of health plus non-health insurance costs as a total budget percent has not even exceeded a full percent in the last 5 years, and it therefore has very little impact on the budget for teacher compensation. Now, we understand that districts have to create a budget, and often that is, making guesses. However, what we've noticed is over the last 5 years, the district has been very conservative in their budget. The difference in the estimated budget versus the audited has grown substantially. The average difference between the estimated and audited numbers is on average 1.7 million. If you took that 1.7 million, that could actually cover a 20% increase for each bargaining unit member of Clare Public Schools.